South African Airways has been provided with state funds to help repay loans of about $176 million to Standard Chartered Bank. Now, the airline accumulated millions of dollars of debt maturing at the end of June, involving 7 lenders. In a statement issued on behalf of the Treasury, the South African government indicated that the funds provided to SAA had been sourced from the National Revenue Fund. The law allows any minister to authorize the use of funds for expenditure of an exceptional nature. SAA already relies on government guarantees of about $1.5 billion to keep it solvent.
While this has now drawn on the National Revenue Fund, which is meant for emergencies, I think in it, Treasury is aware that should they have drawn down directly from the fiscus, it would have created more issues around ratings, more scrutiny around guarantees. In fact, the default of this $2.3 billion, if we were to take effect, would actually have created a systemic risk, it will appear, in the banking sector.
Well, first of all, I would like to see conditions. I would like to see professional management in place, a professional board that's got a plan on the table before you bail out anybody. You cannot just give government money to somebody because they're in trouble. You have to have a plan how to get out of trouble and have to convince people.
Well, let's get some more insight into this. Angelo Coppola now joins us in Johannesburg. Angelo, welcome to the show. Now, many, including economists, analysts, they're all critical of the simple fact that this bailout did come with no conditions or the removal of SAA chairperson Dudu Myeni. Why has the government not effected any changes which suddenly could turn around or turn the tide for South African Airlines?
Well, that's the $1.5 billion question that everyone's asking. Some analysts are actually pointing to the fact that there's more at play here, like possibly political interference. An analyst suggested that perhaps it has more to do with the perception that Minister Gigaba is a political lightweight. Another reminded me that Myeni's contract expires soon, maybe as early as August, so perhaps they're waiting and they're going to let her sit out her term and then start with a fresh chair. It appears then that the bottom line here is that Gigaba doesn't have the political strength to make those tough decisions needed to pull SAA out of the trouble that it's in at the moment, Uche.
But Angelo, Minister Gigaba did say that a task team from Treasury will oversee the airline now. He also mentioned that SAA must finalize the appointment of a new CEO. Is there any confidence in the plan he has for the airline or any clarity?
Well, the fact that he says he's going to establish this task team came as a surprise to some. There are observers out there who were under the impression that his predecessor had actually created a task team, or at the very least ensured that senior Treasury officials were in regular, perhaps weekly contact with SAA management, monitoring and managing that cash flow situation that they've got. But he's also taken a very interesting and more hands-on approach than his colleague Lynn Brown over at Public Enterprises, who deferred to the Eskom board to handle those operational matters. Confidence in his plan? Well, everyone's waiting to see, with bated breath, of course, what this plan is, which according to SAA involved bringing Seabury Consulting on board to try and fine-tune some of those elements that they hope will lead to a successful turnaround plan. Uche?
Now, Angelo, on that note, the minister also announced plans to unveil an action plan this Friday, which will focus on structural changes and timelines to boost growth in the country. Are you expecting some major changes?
Well, it's interesting that the minister made this call. He's also said that he wants 6% economic growth for the country, and this while the country's muddling along at around 0.6%. An analyst wondered why he was making that announcement at this stage in the first place. But as he reminded me, we have the ANC policy conference underway at the moment just south of Johannesburg, and Gigaba is first and foremost a politician, so he's not really an economist. And while the analysts I've spoken to, in fact, all of them that I've spoken to have said they're not sure what to expect, and they wouldn't actually be drawn on what shape this supposed plan of action is going to look like. So we'll wait until Friday, Uche.
That will do. Many thanks, Angelo. Angelo Coppola joining us there in Johannesburg.